Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you don't already know me, my name is Heather Ione and I am a spiritual life coach from St. Petersburg, Florida. Very recently, I just bought a ton of books on Amazon, and this morning I shared them all on my Instagram stories. And I just felt so inspired and so excited about all of these new book purchases and all of the information that I was going to be able to learn from them, that I really wanted to create an extended version of the book haul for my YouTube channel too, because I know that a lot of my followers are interested in books about self-help, about self-development, about spirituality, and are looking for some book recommendations too, because as I am recording this, we are still sort of kind of in quarantine right now. And I know that a lot of us are just looking to go inwards and read. I definitely am sensing this sort of like expansive energy happening right now where people are really feeling like stuck, especially because of the quarantine, and they're just really looking to up level and, leave behind the things that were holding them back before. So I feel like this is a really good time to share with you guys what books I just bought. So with all of that being said, I hope you guys like this video. I'm going to be sharing, I think, 6 different books that I just bought. So number 1, the first book that I bought is a book called Opening to Channel: How to Connect with Your Guide. And I am so excited to read this book because lately I have just been so called to really connect with my guides and connect with my highest self, because I've always been someone who prays to the universe and connects with like the higher power, but I feel like I've never been able to connect one-on-one with a guide, or I have, but it has just sort of been like fleeting, maybe like in a moment or something like that. And I'm really just looking to learn more about channeling, and I'm just so intrigued by this recently. I have had psychic readings before where people have, told me who my guides are or something like that, but other than that, I haven't really had a lot of one-on-one experience with guides, and I'm definitely wanting to look inward and learn a little bit more on how to do that. So I purchased this book, Opening to Channel, and the reason why I bought this one is because I just finished reading another book by these same authors. It's a couple, I think, who actually wrote this book. And it was called Creating Money and Attracting Abundance. And this was literally my favorite spirituality, favorite law of attraction type book that I have ever read. As soon as I read this book, I was like so completely amazed by it. I mean, even within the introduction, I just read a few pages and I was like, oh my God, I love this book. This is one of my favorite books of all time. Like already, I just connected with the message so much. And it helped me a lot with like my scarcity mindset and money and, kind of shifting into more of an abundant mindset and stuff like this. I actually loved this book so much that I like highlighted literally all over the book, and I also put like post-it notes in it. And I actually first started reading it on like an ebook version, and I think it was the Kindle app, and I loved it so much that I bought the physical copy, and it's like highlighted in both areas. So if I'm ever like on my phone and like really feel like I need to like shift more into an abundant mindset, I might be struggling, I'll go on and like read some of the little highlighted portions. But this was such an amazing book. If you're looking for a book about the law of attraction and specifically about attracting money, I definitely recommend this book. And because I loved it so much, I went looking for the authors to see if they had written anything else, and that's how I found Opening to Channel, which was of course something that I was interested in. So I'm really excited to read this book now. I'm already on page 30, and honestly already I am learning so much about channeling. I'm just in like the welcome to channeling sort of section and like the introduction and stuff like that. And I've learned a lot. I feel like this is definitely a topic that kind of takes like reading about it. You don't necessarily like learn all about your guides and learn how to channel, I feel like, completely on your own. It really helps to go to experts with things like this. So I'm excited about this one. That was the first book in my haul. And because I was just like super pumped about this author, I actually went, because I was looking at their other books, I was like, I'm just gonna get another book from them too. So the one I plan on reading afterwards is called Spiritual Growth in Being Your Higher Self. And I really wanted to read this because if you are one of my clients, if you've worked with me in the past, then you know that I talk a lot about being your higher self and stepping into that higher self. And I really have noticed that we have all of these different limiting beliefs and all of these different opinions about ourselves and all of these different fears and just like stresses that we've, adopted from other people that aren't even ours. And all of these things really cloud our minds and just prevent us from being our higher self. They prevent us from stepping forward. They prevent us from stepping into our power. And it really sucks because it's just garbage. It's just clouding our mind. And yet all of these things that we tell ourselves, like that I'm not worthy, I'm not capable, it really just keeps us playing small, and it prevents you from becoming the person that you were actually meant to become in this lifetime. So that's a lot of one-on-one work that I do with people, but really everything that I've learned about the highest self, I've learned either through my own intuition and meditation, I've learned through doing guided meditations, I've learned through podcasts and blogs, and I really just wanted to read a book about it too and just dive fully into the topic of the highest self. So that is the next book that I'm going to be reading shortly after. I'm so excited about it. Book number 3 that I'm going to be sharing with you is a book called Reiki for Beginners. And I bought this book because I was super interested in learning more about Reiki. I'm actually considering adding it to part of my business and part of my coaching practice, not necessarily with one-on-one clients, but where people can book a single Reiki session with me. I haven't completely decided on this yet. It's just an idea that I'm tossing around right now and thinking about so I can help people a little bit more in a different way. But yeah, I was really interested in learning more about Reiki, and I actually bought this book on Audible, and oh my goodness, it was so bad, the recording of it. It was horrible. Do not get this book on Audible. But it was funny though, because the person who narrated it, it wasn't the author, and she had actually read it and did it in one take. And they had no editing at all. She didn't go back and reread the sentences that she messed up. So there's a lot of parts where she doesn't know how to pronounce the word, and she kind of stumbles on it, or she'll kind of not quite know how to do the tone of a sentence, so she'll mess it up, or she'll get to the end of a really long sentence and be kind of catch her breath, and it is just so cringeworthy and so awkward to listen to. But the content in the book was really helpful, and I was just okay, I love this content. I want to be able to reread it and look back on it and highlight it, but I do not want to have to listen to this person anymore. So I bought the same book on Amazon, Reiki for Beginners, and it's definitely helped me a lot. It's helped me understand Reiki a lot more. And I definitely feel like I needed it explained to me a little bit better, because everything I was learning about it was just from bits and pieces of people in a conversation or an Instagram post and stuff. So I haven't finished it yet, but this has been really interesting to read so far. Just don't get it on Audible and don't get the audio version. The next book that I bought is called The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. And I was so excited and so intrigued to read this book. This has been a book that has been on my list to read for a long time now. And as soon as I read the title, I was ooh, I want to know what the 7 laws are. I was so intrigued. And also, surprisingly, I have not read a Deepak Chopra book yet. I don't know how. I mean, it seems like every single person has read Deepak Chopra books, and everything I know about him has just been other authors and spiritual teachers talking about him. So I'm really curious to see what his tone is, what his writing is and really just, get sucked into Deepak Chopra like everybody else. So I'm really intrigued. And I'm also happy because these 2 books are really small. They're 100 pages. So these are going to be super digestible, super quick, easy reads. Which I definitely wanted to do because I do have those 2 meatier books I'm reading. I'm also in a book club too, so I didn't want to overwhelm myself with a bunch of 300-page books. So those will be pretty easy to get through, and I'm really excited to dive into the content. And the next book on my book haul is You Are a Badass at Making Money. I'm sure you are very familiar with the You Are a Badass series by now. If you're not, I am shocked, honestly. The You Are a Badass book, oh my gosh, I read that one like 3 or 4 years ago, and it was so amazing. It was one of, I think it's right up here. Yeah, it's right there. By Sincero. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not sure. But I read that one when I was still in college, and that book helped me so much because that book really inspired me to sort of like take control of my life and be the active creator in my own life and do what I wanted to do and try and, achieve those wild, crazy dreams that I have. And I really realized like, wow, it's not just me who comes from a very controlling family or who tells you like, you can't do this, you can't do that, you have to work a 9 to 5, you have to live your life this way, you shouldn't travel. And that book really made me realize, people are going to talk about you, people are going to criticize you no matter what you're doing. So you might as well just live the life that you want and do what you want to do and do what brings you joy, because it's not like that's going to stop the haters, So that book really inspired me to do things like travel to Europe and start my business and become the person that I want to become and stop playing small because of the opinions of other people in my life. And I have seen a lot of people reading this book and recommending it on social media and stuff. Before I joined my book club, all of the girls from the book club had already read this, which I was a little bit bummed about because I was like, oh, that's on my to-read list. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people recommending You Are a Badass at Making Money. So I'm really curious to see how this message and this book is going to be different than You Are a Badass. If you haven't read You Are a Badass or you haven't read this one, I definitely would recommend that series, and I would definitely recommend Sincero to you because her writing style is so interesting and just so funny. Like, she's one of those authors where like her personality just like comes, it radiates through the pages, like it almost feels like you're having a conversation with her. So it's super fascinating, and she's also like kind of quirky and sarcastic, and she's a great storyteller too. And the stories that she shares in her book, You Are a Badass, oh my gosh, they're so funny. They're so interesting. It was just one of those books that I just got lost in and I loved. And I've actually read it and reread it a couple times. It's so good. So I definitely would recommend that one. And I'm curious to see how I'm gonna like this one too. I know I'm gonna love it. But I'm really excited to see what kind of content is in it. And then the last book I want to share with you guys is a book that I just finished reading. It didn't come in this haul, but I did read it very recently, so I wanted to share it anyways, and it is Pussy. Oh my God, such a good book. Don't be scared by the title. I promise you, this is an amazing book. This book is really all about like the importance of experiencing pleasure and experiencing play. It doesn't necessarily have to be sexual, but the author does talk about that a lot. So I definitely would like read this if you're like over 18, but yeah, she talks about like the importance of experiencing pleasure and experiencing play, and how the more we like live in a state of pleasure and flow and all of that, the happier we are, the more abundant you are, the more you attract into your life. And this is honestly a new message to me. This is a whole nother level of the law of attraction that I was not introduced to personally until very recently, where the more pleasure you have, the more joy you have, the more you attract into your life. And it makes sense, but honestly, like I've been so conditioned to believe in my life that like it is wrong to experience pleasure, because if you are experiencing pleasure and you are enjoying your life, then it is like, you're spoiled, you're entitled, you're undeserving, and like, oh, I wish I had that when I was your age, like that was always the message that I received. So in my family, I always felt very guilty for like ever just enjoying myself and enjoying life, because I know that my parents had it really hard. They had it a lot harder than I did, and the message that I was conditioned to believe was like, you are not allowed to enjoy yourself. Like, our life sucked, so your life should suck too, So this book really introduced me to like the importance of pleasure, and she talks a lot about the word pussy in it, and she talks about one really interesting thing that I learned from this book was the word vagina is actually a very sexist and like incorrect word. And actually it doesn't represent the entire female anatomy because we have so many different areas down there, so many different parts to our body. And the word vagina actually just means sheath. It is actually just basically just means the thing that you put the in, right? So it's kind of wrong because it's ignoring all of the other female anatomy inside and out and basically just focusing on the one thing that you can have sex with. So she talks about how pussy is like a empowering word and really convinces women, empowers women to reclaim that word for themselves and reclaim pleasure and play in their lives. So it was so fascinating. And also I was surprised when I read this book how little I knew about my own anatomy. Like I never was taught anything about my body except for like, this is kind of how a period happens, you know? So this book was so fascinating. I just finished reading it. I want to say like a week ago. It was so good. I could not recommend this book any more highly. So it was amazing. Anyways, those were all of the books that I am reading and just got in. I hope you guys liked it. I hope that this inspired you to go out and get some books on your own. I hope that maybe one of these books really you feel called to and you really want to purchase and try reading because, you know, the message of the book really resonated with you. So if so, please let me know in the comments, what are you reading right now? Are you going to be purchasing any of these books that I talked about? Why? Which ones sort of stuck out to you? I'm super curious. I'm such a book junkie, so I could talk about like self-help, self-development books, spirituality books, like literally all day long. Obviously, that's why I like position myself in front of my bookshelf. But yeah, I'm really interested in hearing back from you guys. Make sure to subscribe on your way out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.